You can suppress your pain, but pain is patient. And it will wait you out. We think that we could just suppress things and they just gonna go away. Well, there is no file cabinet for trauma. So now the trauma is running around the file cabinet room like the Tasmanian devil, kicking stuff over because it has nowhere to be. So what we have to do as humans is we have to say,
big shout out to our sponsors, man. Chick-fil-A, Broad Creek Crossing in Norfolk, Virginia, right off Military Highway. Go check my folk out. You already know what the chicken is. Welcome back to the Legin Podcast. I'm glad you're here. And if this is your first time here, I'm glad you showed up. Listen, I'm excited today. I'm excited every day, but I'm really excited. Let me introduce first my exuberant co-host, the Reverend Dr. J.B. Bishop. B stands for Bishop. Harrison. Make some noise for the people. Yeah?
What up? Exuberant.
He's excited. But most important, today.
that ain't that important now.
Don't do that. Don't do that. We got my homie. We got my sis. We got the illustrious.
Okay. Illustrious. You got exuberant.
Listen.
Come on. Somebody got a vocabulary.
We got the glorious. I ain't used glorious on nobody yet.
That's all.
That's all. Glorious. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Kimtrese Slaughter, welcome to the Legin Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Man,
I'm here.
Glad you
Appreciate it.
Listen, man, we do a little work together here and there.
Here.
I just do it so I sit next to her. I look more professional when I'm you know what I mean? When you sit with the right people, you get elevated. I'm riding her coattails all the way to success. Thanks for being here, man.
Of course, thank you. I've been good, busy.
Yeah?
Really, really busy, but good busy.
Good busy.
Well, I'll say productive, not busy, because busy don't mean you're productive.
That's a fact.
So I've been productive.
She counseling already.
Oh, already.
Y'all going to cash out some copays and listen to this.
Some copays.
Not copays. Okay, come on, I take them. Cash card. Go ahead.
So Kimtrese runs Hummingbird Counseling Services for Women.
Yep.
And the office is in Newport News, yes?
Yes.
And she owns that, is killing it, successful business, has a bunch of therapists that work with her, and focuses primarily only on women. So you can't counsel JB. He can't get any help.
Listen, whatever, y'all. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
And he needs a lot of help.
Whatever, y'all.
Outside of the building.
Look.
I can counsel him. I can.
Right, unofficially.
Again.
The cash app again. But
American Express.
But you focus specifically on women for mental health and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Why just women? Why so sexist? I want your help.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Shots fired.
And is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal.
It's not discriminatory.
It's not discriminatory. Okay. I think, well, for me, especially as a Black woman, you know, when it comes to mental health, you know, there's this stigma on mental health, right? And so now you have a lot of African American women and men come into therapy. But what I find out, I've been in the field for a very long time, and I've worked in different spaces. And when African American women came to me, it was like, you know, we don't have anywhere to feel safe. And they just had this, I think we naturally have this wall up. We naturally have this guard up. And I just wanted to create something for them specifically, where they could just come in and they can just feel like, I don't have to have this guard up. Like, I trust these women. They look like me. They're for me. They understand me. Like, there are not these levels that they have to explain to me before we can get to the work, right? Like, if you come into my office with a bonnet and pajamas on, girl, I'm cool, because I almost came in here with mine on too.
No.
You know, it was the professionalism that held me down, that kept me from doing it. You know, you don't have to explain that to me. You know, I'm not going to question like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with her? I understand the vibe, you know? And so I understand that, you know, sometimes when we're depressed and when we're anxious, we just don't have it. The fact that you came, when you had your bonnet on or whatever, the fact that you showed up shows me that you want to do the work.
No doubt.
But I feel like you have to create spaces for people in order to feel comfortable enough to do that.
No doubt.
So that's why I did that.
I love it, though. And the beautiful thing is when you go out into the community, when you're hired by school systems and organizations and corporations, so she's out doing the work in the community. Like, when you get to go do that, you're not just talking to that crowd at that moment. You're able to take the wisdom and experience you have and benefit everybody in those broader moments. So, and I think that's beautiful too.
And we also see, you know, we see everybody. You know, there's many doctor's offices that you can go into and you don't see anybody that look like you. You know, but they see anybody, right? But we see anybody. We see everybody. We have Caucasian people that come to our office. We have, Asian people that, no, it doesn't matter. As long as you're a woman, you can get the help that you need.
I was about to say, Jay, you can go get the...
I'll meet you in the parking lot.
That's beautiful, man. So the podcast, we send it in on my name, right? Legin, my life turned around. Christ turned Nigel turned my life around. And so everything in his about turning.
I don't think I knew that.
You didn't know that?
I don't think I knew that.
I'm the worst at branding and marketing.
Come
bro.
on. You need to speak to Jazz.
about to
Neurological marketing.
Yeah.
Let me Jazz number, dog, because I need some help. No, it's just Nigel backwards, Legend. That's why I never knew that. And here it is. I got it branded. But
come on, bro.
The reason, so it's about turning lives around one episode at a time. So I want to talk about your life turnaround. Like, how did you get to where you are today, and what got you here to where you wanted to go and counsel others? Because you've been through some things.
Yeah, growing up, born to teenage mom, teenage dad, the industries, both of them drinking, drugging. My mom had 10 kids. I'm the oldest of 10. And just a lot of abuse in the home. We were young, not of neglect, in and out of foster care. And just no guidance, no emotional connection at all. That's why today I don't like nobody telling me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like no emotional connection. Just never knowing what love was as a kid. And I feel like for kids, it's very important for them to just, I say rest, right? Rest in their own identity where they can just be them and they don't have to do anything more to be loved, right? Like when Jesus was baptized, God said, this is my son who I'm well pleased with. He hadn't done anything yet.
Right.
It was just because that's my son.
Yeah.
I am pleased with him. And so I didn't experience that growing up. Like I had to perform in order to experience attention or love. If I didn't perform, then I was invisible.
Yeah.
And so with all of the trauma, all the abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, not eating for days and sometimes weeks at a time, where I had to teach my little siblings how to not be hungry. It's weird, but I had to teach them that. And so... And
this is going through different foster cares, different
This
homes.
is going through different foster cares. This is in my home initially with my mom. And then, I feel like for me, my foster care experience was worse than being at home with my mom.
Jeez.
Because at least I know my mom. At least I knew my aunts, and at least I was surrounded by people I knew. But when strangers are doing these things to you, when strangers are taking advantage of you, you really feel hopeless. You really feel like you don't have any power at all. And you really don't.
Yeah.
As a kid, as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid, what you going to say?
Right.
There's nothing you can do, especially when you have this idea that authority, that you have to bow down to authority, because that's what I had to do in my home.
Take me to this conversation we had off camera about what you just kind of said, when your parents are supposed to give you the identity, because otherwise the world will give it to you and it's just a crapshoot at that point.
Mm-hmm.
How did you develop the identity you have now when it seems like all you were given was a very shattered? And how did your identity develop through all that, I guess is what I'm asking.
Books. Books. I was a reader. I was a introvert. I know you might not believe that. But
No. No.
I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I was extremely nerdy. I was a super introvert. I didn't like playing with other kids. I didn't like being around people. It was just me and my books. I was reading Uncle Tom's Cabin when I was like 10, 11.
Wow.
Black Beauty. And I was reading, Huckleberry Finn. I was reading all of these things when I was a little kid. And so my mom used to call me retarded because I didn't want to spend time with the other kids. I wanted to I would be in the room with the sheet over my head and I would just be reading my books, and that was like my happy place. So that's where I got my identity from. I read all different types of books, and I'm like, it allowed me to imagine, like being in, the neighborhood that I come from. It was very difficult to imagine. Like, when Jay-Z says the concrete jungle, it literally is that. And so there's no room for imagination. There's only room for subjugation and oppression. And so, these books really helped me to be like, oh, wow, maybe I can do that. That's all you need. That's all a kid needs is a maybe, a might. It doesn't have to be 100%. It just, if they can do that, then maybe I can do that. Maybe there's a possibility. And so my identity literally derived from books.
Got you.
Yeah,
That's great.
from reading.
So between your identity and your escape?
Yes, it was also an escape for me as well.
Wow. That's a good question.
Even like you know, as a kid, I had really bad anxiety. I used to like scratch my face, pull my hair out, throw myself up against the wall. It was looking like some exorcist type stuff. It looked crazy. And I would disassociate a lot. So like if my mom was beating me or something sexually was happening to me, I would come outside of my body. I had the ability to disassociate outside of my body and kind of watch what was happening to me. And that's just the way that the brain protects us when our brain is so overwhelmed with trauma, because we were not created to experience trauma. So the brain has to now find ways to deal with something that it was never supposed to experience in the first place.
Jeez.
And so I was able to disassociate and escape when things were happening to me, but I was also able to disassociate, escape when, you know, things in my house were happening, when our doors were getting kicked down and our house was getting shot up and our house was set on fire and all of these things, and people were fighting and my mother was getting beat up by her boyfriend, by a third, fourth, seventh boyfriend, stuff like that. I always ran to books. It was my identity shaper, but it also allowed me to escape as well.
Okay, because I'm about the rabbit hole. Is that disassociation that you learned then, did that flip from, I won't say negative because it helped you like get through it, but it was still like, I've got to do this because everything's negative right now. Does that allow you now to go back to that place to help people out without it being as painful now, like decades later? Like, was that ability to learn how to disconnect from the feeling of that? Is that something you've healed over time, or do you still have a level of, I need to learn how to disassociate with this trauma so I can help this person in this moment without going back there myself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about trauma is, especially when you're a kid and you experience trauma in those formative years, those are the years where your brain is growing extremely rapidly. And so it's like you don't even have your conscious mind yet, right? You just have your subconscious mind, which is just a recorder. That's all your subconscious mind is. It's taking, it's learning. It doesn't question anything. It doesn't, you know, if somebody tell your 3-year-old that they're ugly, they're going to be like, okay. Like they don't have their conscious mind. They get their conscious mind about 9, 10. That's when you start, like, your kids start acting a little funky because now they love a little bit more because now they're into their conscious mind. But so our conscious mind is like a wet cement, right? And so what happens is it dries over time. And so then when our conscious mind comes, it's only pulling from our subconscious mind. So whatever's in there, that's what your conscious mind is pulling from. And as an adult, you're only operating on your conscious mind about 5% of the day.
It's a great explanation.
95% of the time, you're pulling from what's in your subconscious mind. So my ability to just associate, I still have the ability to do that. I still do it subconsciously. Because what happens is, it's like if you take Tarzan and you raise him in the jungle, he's going to have to learn how to adapt to the jungle. So he's probably going to learn how to swing from trees. He's going to have to learn how to find his food and cook his food. He's probably not going to wear shoes and things like that. But imagine if he turns 18 and then you put him in a city.
Yeah.
Well, those tools that he used in the jungle does not work in the city. And so even if you look at our kids in the school today, a lot of the tools that they learn to protect themselves, now they're trying to use it in a place where they don't need them.
Yeah.
Right? And they get punished. Punished for them because, you know, those tools are now not accepted here.
Yeah.
Right? So things that I did in childhood to protect myself as an adult, if I did it, I would get reprimanded for them because I no longer need the tools. The trouble with trauma is your brain doesn't know you no longer need the tools. Wow. Your brain is saying, no, you still need to disassociate.
Yeah.
You know, you still need to protect yourself. So now you're walking around, you're hypervigilant, you're looking around, you don't trust nobody, and you cannot develop healthy relationships. You can always tell where you are in your relationships. Wow. What are your relationships like?
Yeah.
Are you accepting new clients? Because I think you just sold your services. You know,
fact.
Like, man,
fact. I mean, like, we gotta get some exceptions later and slide up in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
look.
Hey, so Hummingbird Counseling Service of Women. You just explained it. If you told me before, I forgot. But please explain why Hummingbird.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I was in foster care. I was bouncing around a lot in foster care. But I was in this one home, and my bed was like right near the window. And in New York, you know, we have those power lines. You know, you got sneakers and stuff on the power lines. But there's a lot of birds on the power line. So I would always sit on my bed and just be like, dang, I wish I was a bird so I could just fly away. And because they could just come, go, fly, you know, they just had this freedom. Birds just had this freedom.
You fell in love with birds.
I just love birds. And then when my foster father used to lock me in a closet, it was so dark in there, but I could still hear the birds. I would just like put my ear up against the door. And I always would tell myself as a kid, like, one day I'm going to fly away like the birds. Like I'm going to be able to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. And so that's how I fell in love with birds. But then as I started studying birds, I realized that the hummingbird is one of the smallest birds, but it's also the only bird that can fly up, down, left, right, forward, back, and upside down. And when I think about the ability, its capability to do that, I think about perspective. Like if I'm having an issue, if a woman comes in and she's having an issue and she says, well, I'm broken, Miss Slaughter, and I just need you to fix me. I'm like, well, that's just one perspective. What if we fly right? And let's look at this perspective over here. What if we fly left? What if we get crazy and fly upside down and imagine something that you've never imagined before? You know, and so that's why I call it hummingbird, because of the ability to move through life with different perspectives. And it allows you to be open to other people's perspectives as well, even if you don't agree. Like we can disagree on something and I'd be like, nah, I don't agree with that, but I want to hear your perspective. Where most people will get emotional and be like, nah, you wrong. I ain't trying to hear that. No.
Yeah.
I don't allow my emotions to get involved because I know my feelings are not facts, you know? And so I don't give them too much attention. You know, I lean more into my logic, you know, because I'm a behavioral scientist. So I look a lot at behaviors and facts. And so if it's not facts, then I mean, I'll listen to you. I'm not going to tell you, well, it's not facts, and I'm not going to dog you out. But most people are going to operate out of their feelings when they're trying to say, well, I believe this. Okay, I know you believe. And the first thing they're going to say is, well, I feel. I know you feel. That's why you acting like that, because you feel. I don't allow myself to get emotionally engulfed in a belief. I'm not married to any belief. If it's not proven, then it even if I want it to be, it's not true.
If it ain't a fact, it ain't a fact.
It's not a fact.
I love that, man. That's just a dope name. Like hummingbird.
Thank you.
I love that. No. So this, we do life, culture, faith here. So the conversation about mental health has been sticky and faith stuff. We'll get to that next episode for real. But like it's been talked about a lot right now, it seems like, and I'm thankful for that. It actually, in many ways, culturally inspired me to go do what I should have did 10 years ago, go to counseling. Do you see right now the stigmas about counseling is for those people, crazy people or whatever? Are they the same as they've ever been and different, or are they actually are they going down? Are people more open to it than they have been in the past?
I think people are definitely more open. I think when we say people, we got to say African-American people, because we are the ones that was like, nah, we ain't going no therapy. We ain't great. We going to church.
Yeah.
You know, we ain't going no therapy. We going to church.
Grandma can pray this out of me.
Exactly. Come on, get out here, drink this Sprite, and then we gonna pray. We gonna pray for you. Or ginger ale. We gonna pray. Ginger ale is good for everything. It don't matter.
Medicine.
Exactly. It's black people medicine. You
Broken leg,
break your arm, drink some ginger ale.
Maybe some Tylenol. Seriously.
Exactly. Constipated, drink some ginger ale. And so
It works though.
It does. It does. Don't sleep on ginger ale. Okay. Schweppes. Yeah, so I think it's definitely going down for us. We are definitely realizing how important it is. Like, we're going to therapy in droves.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good,
we're going to therapy in droves. I
didn't know if there was a lot of talking, but nobody's actually making steps.
people are doing it.
Praise the Lord.
Especially men and women, not just
So,
men and
you know
women.
how we know? Did you hire some new therapists for your
I have.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. Right?
Yeah, like and I'm still hiring right now.
Word?
Because we're getting 20, 30 referrals a week.
Yeah.
A week. Yeah.
Now, do you think it had anything to do with the pandemic at all?
Definitely. It definitely had a lot to do with the pandemic. And I think specifically because of the loneliness during the pandemic. Loneliness is definitely on the rise. We're not created to do life alone. Yeah. We're created to do life in conjunction with other people, in community, in tribes. Like if you look at, early life, we were in tribes. Like it was important for us to be in tribe for our safety, right? You did not leave your tribe. If you left your tribe, there was a chance that you might get hurt, right? Yeah. So we need tribes. And so the pandemic took us out of our tribes.
Yeah.
And it allowed us it put us in a position where we had to sit with ourselves, which people don't like to do.
Right. Yeah.
They don't like to sit with themselves and deal with their stuff, and having to start realizing things that need to be corrected. That needed to be corrected before. They just suppressed it. Because we think that we could just suppress things and they just gonna go away. Yeah. But what I tell people is you can go ahead and do that. Like you can suppress your pain, but pain is patient. And it will wait you out.
Ooh.
Yeah. It will wait you. You will not outlive it.
Now, did you know she used to spit, right? Huh? You know she was a spitter.
I did.
Hey.
And fast.
Huh?
Got a beat? I need some bars.
And so as you hear,
Dang, I forgot I knew you that long.
she
she's
spitting balls at the same time.
This is making sense to me.
Pain is patient.
Clinical bars.
No, but anyway,
Clinical bars.
Clinical bars.
Licensed bars.
Board certified. Bars.
pain is patient.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you're seeing it's people are opening up, they're coming out, things
Yes.
and things. That makes me happy, man. Because like I know I went, but I felt like it took me forever to go.
I think the struggle, though, even though people are coming out, they also, when they do come, they now realize that there's work that they have to do. And that's when the feelings come in, because it's like, it's not fair that I have to do all this work when these things were done to me.
Right.
Why do I have to do the work?
It's that whole, it's, and I hate this phrase, but it makes sense. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Absolutely.
You got to deal with it.
You have to deal with it.
Shouldn't have happened, but now you got to deal with
But
it.
now what you going to do? You got to take responsibility for your healing.
Let me ask you this. I see this sometimes too. You see people going to getting less therapy than they need. Like, I do 6 sessions and then I'm out. Like, I dealt with it. We talked about it. I'm good. But they need to do some regularity stuff. I've seen some people like, I did that before. I did about 3 sessions. I'm good. I'm like, you ain't good, fam. We just talked. I know you're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, do you see like
Conversation told me you wasn't good.
with the people coming in droves, and I don't know how you would measure this. Do you see people getting the help they need in a deep place, or is it still kind of like surface? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's both. I think some people are. I think there are less people willing to do the deep work.
Yeah, like you said,
deep
when you
work
come,
is
you realize
difficult.
it's deeper than you thought. Now you
Yeah.
really got to make a decision
Now
of
you
commitment.
really got to make a decision, and I don't feel like I should have to do the work. It's not fair that I have to do the work. And you're right, it's not fair. But I also think it's the toxic gratitude, right? This toxic gratitude that says I did.
Toxic gratitude.
I told you, man. She got balls.
Yes.
Explain that. That's like a mixtape.
So toxic gratitude is like, if I was in a relationship let's say I was in a relationship with a guy and he hit me. He would hit me. Now I'm in a relationship with a guy. He's still verbally abusing me. That he doesn't hit me though. So the toxic gratitude is, well, at least he's not hitting me.
Oh, okay.
He's just talking down to me. He's just being psychologically abusive and emotionally abusive, but he's not putting his hands on me.
Jeez.
And so now I'm grateful that he's not, but that's toxic.
You're grateful for less abuse.
You're grateful for less abuse.
Wow.
Exactly.
Now that makes a lot of sense, because it looks like how you can get into one healthy relationship and not another, but it's not as bad as the other one. So this is better by comparison.
Yes.
So it's better.
It's better.
It's
It's healthier.
It's like -3 instead
Right.
of -8. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
So if I go to therapy and I do 3 sessions, I got a little bit more information about myself and about my pain and about my trauma than I had before I came in. So I'm good now.
Wow.
I'm gonna go live off this, and then
She tied that joint together like a sermon. Like that uppercut at the end was like, this is why you need to repent. Like, ooh. All right.
Well, then let me ask you this though. When it comes to your clients, how many of them have a hard time revisiting the trauma and the emotion? Because you can kind of go in there and I'm coming to get fixed, but then once you start to relive it and hash it out and relive it and hash it out again, it becomes too much for whether your clients or individuals. Period. And then how do you manage that? To kind of reel them back in a sense.
so I would say that 100% of them struggle with doing their work because they don't realize how deep it is. They just don't realize it. Wow. They think when you are away for so long, when you're conditioned to be away for so long, you think that's normal. The way that I grew up, I thought it was normal. The only reason I knew it wasn't is because of the books I read. Like, this is not normal. They don't have another
that
perspective.
escape. You might not have had an identity that got you to where you are now.
Yeah. So if I have someone, like the women that we see, the referrals that we get, I would say 8 out of 10 have been like sexually abused as a kid, and maybe 4 out of that 8, it's been like a biological parent.
Jesus Christ.
So who wants to deal with that? Who want to raise their hand and be like, I want to deal with that?
Yeah,
nobody wants to deal with that.
I think revisit that. Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more difficult with African Americans because we are very social people. We like to talk, and talk therapy doesn't work for that type of stuff. Because what we're doing, it was just like running it through the mill and it's going to the bottom and the top and the bottom and the top. So your emotions are like this, emotions are like this. So you have to just use different tools with them. So I use a lot of like EMDR, brain spotting, somatic.
Go back to that EMBR.
EMDR.
Yeah, it's a clothing brand. Have you seen it before?
What is
It's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So basically what you do is you get the brain to reprocess the trauma while they're awake, while they're in the moment. So you know how like when you're sleeping and you ever seen somebody sleeping, their eyes are moving, their brains are the brain is processing the events of the day.
Right. Okay.
Right? Well, we do that while you're awake. We help you do that while you're awake. Because if you think about trauma, right? Think about like a big Walmart, right? With nothing in it. Just think about this big warehouse with nothing in it, right? And then think about if you put thousands and thousands and thousands of file cabinets. And every file cabinet is for like the events of the day. So tonight your brain will file this away in the social file cabinet, right? And you go do something else, it'll file away in the family file cabinet. Well, there is no file cabinet for trauma. So now the trauma is running around the file cabinet room like the Tasmanian devil kicking stuff over because it has nowhere to be.
Interesting.
Because we were never supposed to experience it.
Yeah.
So what we have to do as humans is we have to say, as therapists, is we have to say, okay, how do we create a file cabinet for this trauma so that it's not wrecking these people's lives, right? And so we do that through helping the brain reprocess and make sense of it and creating a file cabinet within the brain so it has somewhere to put the trauma. It doesn't mean that the thoughts and the feelings are not going to ever come up again.
Yeah.
It's not going to have the impact.
That's what we was talking about. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Go ahead.
That's cool. Just take it all in, bro.
Yeah,
take it in. You talked about it earlier with identity, Christ. What's the intersection? This is our last question, and then I got one send-off question I want to ask you. What's the intersection of faith and counseling that you see? Misconceptions, conceptions, benefits, or whatever. For the person that's listening that is a faith person, the person that's not, that's listening, where do you see the intersection of faith and counseling being helpful in your practice?
Well, first I would say that when we look at the Trinity, right, when God says, let's make them in our image, right? So it's the physical body, the mental, and then the spiritual, right? It all works together. If your physical body is not healthy, then your mental is not going to be healthy, and your spiritual is not going to be. If one of them are off kilter, then the whole Trinity is not healthy. So you have to make sure you're taking care of the whole, the whole body, the whole mind.
I like that.
Yeah, because I think I talk to a lot of pastors, and they just have this idea that mental health is from the devil. No, mental health is all throughout the Bible.
Facts.
It's all throughout the Bible. And we have to understand that when we talk about the fall, right? But we somehow leave mental health out of it.
Facts.
Right? The reason after the fall, everything was affected.
Right.
Right? We were never supposed to be sick. Yeah. We were never supposed to die.
Right.
Right? We were never supposed to experience certain things, but because of the fall, now into sickness, mental and physical sickness.
Yeah.
Right? And then what we have to realize is that when we think about our brains, right? We have 3 brains. We have our skull brain, we have our heart brain, and we have our gut brain. They all talk to each other. They all talk to each other. It's like if you ever done something or about to do something, and your gut be like, nah, chill.
Don't do
That's
it.
your gut brain saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Your gut brain, your body brain knows way more than your skull brain. It has way more attunement,
I'm reading a book
way
about that right
much
now.
awareness. Okay, so we on the same page. Way much awareness than, because your gut brain ain't dealing with feelings. This is dealing with feelings. You know what I'm saying? And so I think some of the misconceptions is that any mental health issue is of the devil. First of all, we give the devil too much credit. He be sitting back like, yo, I ain't even do that.
He like, thanks.
Appreciate
it.
I'd say that.
Hey, put that on the chalkboard over there.
Exactly.
Mark that off as a
One
win.
for us. And it's like, mental health is not of the devil.
Right.
Anxiety, depression, whatever, no matter what it is not
such a
of
weird
the devil.
theology that's.
And so we believe, though, I think a lot of pastors believe that it is of the devil because they don't understand it. Yeah. And we reject what we don't understand. We fear what we don't understand. This is why when people dealing with mental health, pastors like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. No, if you're working with people,
Is that how the pastors talk? Is that?
yeah, I don't know what to do. If you fear,
If you talk like that, pastor, shots fired.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, you caught a strike. My thing is, if you fear something, anything, the way to combat that fear is to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Because you're just fearing the uncertainty. I don't know enough about this person. I don't know enough about this thing. I don't know enough about this situation to combat my fear. So and as a pastor, you're working with people. It's not enough for you to just know the Bible. You don't have to be a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist. But you have to understand people. If my car breaks down, I'm taking it to someone who understands cars.
Yeah.
If I got a toothache, I'm going to someone who understands teeth, right? If I have a mental health issue, I'm going to go to someone who understands the brain and mental health. Yeah. But if you're a pastor, you don't have to totally understand all those things, but you need to understand people. And you can't say that, you can't assign, your mental health, you're depressed because you ain't praying enough.
Right.
I've had pastors tell people to stop taking their medication.
That's bad theology.
That's terrible theology. Yeah. Stop taking your medication. I mean,
that's illegal too, isn't it? Outside of that,
it should be.
I don't know if it's illegal, but yeah, I mean,
it should be.
I don't know if it technically is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it should be. Yeah, you said. All right, so I'll say this too, because like I'm in ministry, been in full-time ministry for 11 years, and the church I lead, I help preach there. I preach there once a month for the past 10 years. I remember preaching on go get some counseling. The beautiful thing about it was my mom took me to counseling very young, so I didn't have this it's anti in my my experience. When she left my dad and came back here, I remember going to a child psychologist to process things she didn't know how to help me with. I remember the fish tank and the blue room. I remember all that. I don't remember any of the conversations, but I remember like, oh, this lady's here to help me. But grew up, got into it, stigmas, that's for them people, they crazy, we social, we don't do that, black people don't. And then get into ministry, I still know it's a good thing. So I'm sending people. I'm paying for people to go. I ain't going myself. And I know I need to go. And I kept kicking it down the can. I know the word, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then when my theology got to the place where it's like, that's not, the answer to this mental health thing, I still was like pride and ego, just to be dead honest. It took me getting to the end of my rope when I was like, I'm finally gonna make an appointment. Yeah. And then I was like, dang, I wish I had did this a decade ago. So I can speak for the pastor or the black person that's holding off like, it ain't for me. Yeah, it is, fam. Like,
it's for everybody. Yeah. And it doesn't matter, like, it doesn't have to be anything major that's going on. Like it's for everybody. It helps. It's like, why does LeBron James need a coach? He's great, right? Why did Why did Michael Jordan need a coach? Why did Kobe need a coach? Because they can see things that they can't see.
Facts.
Right? If they're on the court and they're practicing, the coach might be like, okay, you holding the ball like this, put your hand down. They can't see that.
How you gonna coach Jordan, fam?
Right, exactly. Right. They can't see that. And so everyone needs that help, that guidance, that thing. Like, I'll say things in session and people are like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
Right.
Because I can see things you can't.
That's a fact. The theology point, then we're gonna end up, but like you said, the fall, everything's affected, right? And we just to go back on the bad theology of we don't need to deal with that still exists, which is weird to me. I don't know how we're gonna worship the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and not think that the mind needs to be attended to.
Well, you can't do it with all your mind if it ain't all.
If it ain't there.
Right.
And God has given you what? A sound mind. So if your mind is unsound, then you need to go somewhere to help it get back on track.
Yeah.
You need to go to someone that can actually help you do that and not feel like, because I have people that I see and they be like, well, my pastor don't know I'm coming to therapy. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Like, you got to hide this from you?
Yeah.
Need a new church, fam.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Let's say that. This is my podcast. You need a new church, fam.
Yeah. If you're
going to slide out.
Not support.
Josh just became an elder. He can give you a recommendation. Josh is filming this. Email Josh. He'll tell you where to go.
He got you.
If your pastor ain't going to, you need a new church, fam. I ain't trying to lie to you.
Definitely.
Or your pastor probably needs to get some counseling.
Or then let me ask you this, and I don't know, but
go for it.
So you tell your pastor you're going to therapy, but then in turn you're in a leadership position. And your pastor sits you down. because you're going to therapy.
You need a new church, fam.
And you need a new church. And then you need to go to therapy to deal with the fact that your pastor, set you down.
And then email us and we'll show you some scriptures as to where you good.
Right, because environment is everything.
Right.
Environment is everything.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to make sure that you're in the right environment. We all grow to the level of our environment. You can't take me nowhere you have not been.
Right.
You know, and so if I need help, even if you haven't been to therapy, at least have the perspective to be open to it, and don't think that you are Almighty God and all you have to do is pray for me or give me these 3 scriptures and I'm just gonna be healed. It don't work like that. That's just like telling somebody with a broken arm, don't go to the doctor.
Don't pray about it.
Go to church.
Drink some
They
ginger ale.
leaking all over leaking all over the pews.
Ginger ale and Tylenol, you be just fine.
And Band-Aids, Q-tips.
Listen, hey, all I'm gonna say is one of the guys' names is Great Counselor. Hello.
Exactly.
All right. So if so, we about to go right in episode 2. This is too good. I don't even want to take a break. We just need to keep going. Y'all don't go change your clothes. Don't go
Okay,
pee.
cool. Not gonna pee.
Real quick.
Hold it.
If somebody doesn't make it to episode 2 for whatever reason, and it's the only chance they get to meet you, what would you say to somebody who is struggling with, I want to go address this, whether they're a faith-based person or not? What would you say to them and say, hey, I implore you to go and get your mental health checked out and just get somebody to walk with you? What would you say?
I would say that you are worth it. And, you are valuable, and it is important for you to learn to live to your optimal capacity. And if you are having any type of mental health issues, you are not living to your optimal capacity. You are made for more, and you can't get to what you are made for. You can't operate in the capacity you need to operate in if you are dealing with mental health issues. It is not something that you were created to deal with in the first place. So don't think that you can deal with it by yourself. You can suppress it, but that's just going to make matters worse. It is important for you to value yourself enough to say, I deserve this, and I'm going to do this for me, whether someone is there or not. It's good to have support, but if you don't, start off by yourself. Go get the help you need because you're worth it.
Yeah. And you're not alone.
That's right.
Not alone.
Well,
Jay, you got any wisdom to send us off, man? Come on, wrap it up. What you got?
Y'all have a good day.
All right. We were going and then just went off a cliff. Appreciate you, bro.
have a good day.
Thank you for being here for this episode. Tap into the next one and keep and do the 5 stars and the likes and all the things. But we'll see you in a minute. Hey, man, thank you so much for watching this episode. Do me a favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go to the show notes, do all the things, and let us know what you're feeling because we'd love to hear from you. Appreciate you.